Welcome to another episode of the Virtual Rehab Bros, where Dr. Kyle and myself bro out on all things virtual rehab when it comes to growing a brand online, specifically on Instagram, if you don't follow us already. Kyle, let's dive into, I think this is a pretty good topic. I feel
Yeah.
like people want to know this kind of info. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about how you actually make money on social media or off social media. I think a lot of people immediately think, oh, you have a big following, you must be making a ton of money, right? It's not by default that you just make money based off of following. Now you have, think about growing the following is like your ticket now to start monetizing. And it's not the same way you probably think. You probably think, I've been asked a million times, how much do you get per reel? You don't really get anything. There was a Reels bonus a while ago where you got some money off it. You have ads,
Mm-hmm.
and I think my ads, I think last month I got like $10 off of, you got to think 30 reels, which is like 30 cents a reel. It's not, it is not worth anything. So you don't make money off that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big categories you make money is ads, which that was the one I just talked about. Not great.
Yep.
Partnerships or sponsorships, big companies. That's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching, you can do coaching, or I'll call it like remote patient work. Or you can't really call patient pain coaching, whatever it is. And then programs. Programs where you can either do monthly subscriptions, one-offs. I think those are your big four. Am I missing anything?
No, those come off the top of my head too.
Mm-hmm.
And then partnerships and sponsorships, think of that as like brand deals.
Brand
Like you're
deals.
working with a company and they're
Mm-hmm.
paying you. A lot of times they just want to give you a product, but
Right.
there's ways when you have a bigger following, you can actually have them pay you to post to
Mm-hmm.
your following, which is huge. Yeah, so I think this is what everybody wants to know. It's like, oh, cool, you have a following on social media, but like you don't just get handed money. Views
No.
and followers don't equal dollar signs.
No.
Like you have to think of this as a business and there's strategy behind it. So that's what we're going to
Mhm.
dive into today.
Yeah. So let's go over. Well, I kind of went over ads, but we could briefly hit on
Mm-hmm.
this. Essentially, Instagram will pay you per whatever amount of views. There's no actual, like, they don't tell you how much it is based off anything. You can somehow roll
Mm-hmm.
ads onto your posts or reels. They're very like hush hush about it. All I know is at the end of the month, it gives me a summary. It's like you made $12, whatever it is. That just rolls
Yep.
right into like my Meta verified stuff. I don't. It is what it is. I don't even consider
Yeah.
that making money online at this point. It's just whatever.
I think of the same thing. And actually, the day of recording this, I
Uh-huh.
just hit the most ad revenue I've ever gotten from Instagram.
Yeah.
And it was only $75 for the month.
That's great. Oh, mine's not even anywhere
Yeah.
close to that. But you just had a ton of views this last like month, which is
Yep.
insane.
Yes. Which you'll have your ups and downs,
Hmm.
which is why we don't say you should try to make money off of ads online. It's kind of
God
like
no.
a added bonus.
Yeah.
And sometimes your content does better one month than another, and you'll see that number fluctuate. But clearly, that's not enough money to really do anything. If
No.
anything, I just reinvest it right into the business, maybe get some new equipment, pay for Meta Verify, just because the bigger your following is, you need more account security. So that's like a
Right.
no brainer. Um,
So real quick
but
on that, I just
yeah,
looked. My most recent one that had 2.2 million views. I got nothing on it. There's no ads on it. They didn't allow ads for whatever reason. So like again, it's hit or miss. Sometimes they don't even allow ads on certain posts, which blows my mind. They have a 2 million view and you go open
yes.
anything. So
Sometimes I think that's based on if you could monetize that specific audio too. So there's a lot
mm,
more like things you have to think about. Like my content, I don't use any
right.
copyrighted audio, so every post is monetizable.
I didn't know
And
that.
at my peak, this is my peak month, it's
Yes.
$75. So
Right.
hopefully, I mean, YouTube pays out a little bit more, but that number keeps shrinking
Yep.
less and less each year.
Yep.
So the smart thing is don't rely on these platforms for monetization. You actually want to learn how to monetize your skills, and then try to make money off of your knowledge. That's the
Right.
big thing here.
So that brings us to the
But
next
before
one.
we get into that,
Go ahead.
before we get into that, but you can leverage your following, and the brand you've built for yourself for potential brand deals.
Yeah, that's what you were thinking the same thing. That's what I wanted to go into because that's where I think the bulk of the money is made. Everything's starting to shift towards advertising on social media. Companies don't want to pay tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars to put an ad on maybe a random Facebook thing or YouTube like roles, whatever it is. They want to target to a specific audience and they look at a certain page and
Mhm.
go, we want to target whether it's golf or mobility or general health stuff. They want to target directly to those people and they'll spend money and they'll spend good amount of money, which is still cheaper than like, dude, what was it? The Super Bowl ad was like $7 million for 30 seconds. Imagine how
Oh
much
yeah.
money they could just give to people on social media for $7 million and send that to an insane amount of people. But that's what I've started to realize. I think you're starting to get into that too now. Is that is where the
Mhm.
consistent bigger paychecks are. Um, but again, you also have to like the brand. You have to use the product. There's a lot of things go into it. So, what are your thoughts on this stuff with brand deals?
Yeah, brand deals could. I think of that as like your lucrative play, where
Mm-hmm.
if you're already posting content, if you already like specific brands, whether it's like rehab tools, certain like gym equipment,
Mm-hmm.
reach out to them and be like, "Hey, I've been using your stuff for a
Yeah.
while. Like, do you need any user generated content for your ads or whatever they want to use their content for?" And then
Right.
see if you can negotiate something from there. And obviously, the bigger the following, the more you can charge a company for your posting. But there's like micro influencing is been getting bigger and bigger, especially the last couple of years, where some companies actually seek out people that have like less than 10,000 followers
Mm-hmm.
because they get more bang for their buck because you have a smaller audience, but usually your trust percentage is higher just because you don't have this mass following.
Right. And I think a good thing to tell people too is when you start, if someone just wants to send you a product to review and like, hey, if you could post about it, awesome, we'll give you the product for free. Start there. Don't even start asking for anything to begin with. Like I've been sent a ton of things just to try, and like the ones I like, I will genuinely just post them. And then over time you can start maybe negotiating some sort of deal or whatnot. But even then it's a way to get
Mhm.
things started. Start getting trust with companies because I think when we look at this at the end of the day, that's one of your very consistent streams of income from online stuff, right? We can talk the next stuff will be programming and coaching, but I think that is like
Yep.
one of the top ones I've started to realize, which I didn't think was going to be a thing for me. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get paid. But now I'm having larger companies reach out to me and want to partner with me solely based off what my social media looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I think it's lucrative. You can get quick money, but as far as sustainability,
Hmm.
usually if they're going to pay you for your content, it's a short-term contract,
Right.
maybe even a month-to-month basis. So it's not one
Hmm.
of those things where you can rely on that each and every month or each and every 6 weeks or
Hmm.
12 or 6 months or 12 months. So it's something where if you're just wanting to monetize, it's a great starting point.
Hmm.
But when you start to get paid from brands, that's actually the time where maybe you could peel back practicing as much. So
Yep.
then we could start to build up your online business and what you're going to offer that's specific to you, which leads into our next couple of ways to monetize, which you and I are actively trying to
Yes.
figure out and get better at together.
Real quick, I want to hit on one more thing you just said because this is what I started doing now is like that extra income I'm getting from these partnerships and brand deals. I'm taking that money, reinvesting it back into what I'm doing, whether it's lighting, cameras, mics, or now guess what? I can peel back a day in the clinic or maybe 5 hours in the clinic, whatever it is, because I'm actually getting paid now a fair amount for that time. Now I can use that to generate even
Mm-hmm.
more content. So it's like I don't feel as bad now if I take, let's say, 3 extra days off in a month, but I'm actually getting paid a couple extra $1,000s for that. You're like, well, now guess what? Now I keep upping my content and I have more ability to get more and more brand deals. And I think that's the biggest thing. Don't take that money and be like, oh, let me just go spend on something. I think you take that and reinvest it and then keep going and trying to find ways to begin essentially we are becoming influencers or whatever you want to call it, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
hilarious. I never thought I would use that word, but no,
Oh,
seriously, and that's what
yeah,
companies
I
want,
know.
though. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Did you ever think that like 4 years ago you'd be a influencer or rehab
No,
influencer?
I still don't use social media very often.
Crazy.
So the paradoxical thing where I'm a quote unquote influencer and I don't even scroll feeds is kind of a
Wild. Wild.
weird, scenario for myself. But
Hmm.
hey, this is the world we live in, which is why we preach that everybody should take advantage of it. I think we should do a separate episode on like brand deals specifically, because then we can
Hmm.
talk about like how often you have to post
Right.
a thing and like what's your give to ask ratio when
Hmm.
it comes to, you don't want to over promote and oversell to your audience. There's a fine line
Right.
there. So there's some layers to each onion we bring up, but we'll bring up more, or we'll dive into the specifics as we continue to drop episodes.
Yeah, write that down. That's a good one. We'll go into more of the details. I have no problem giving people more of that because, like you said, you don't want to sell out to it. Like, hey, we need you to post 3 times a week. Hey, your followers are going to see that and be like, nah, I don't want to. I don't want to follow this guy anymore. People who are trying to sell versus people who actually genuinely use the products. So, all right, next one. Let's go into
Correct.
the coaching and whatnot.
I think we should go coaching and then like recurring programs.
Hmm.
I think would be. I mean, they kind of go together,
Yes.
but you're more of the coaching expert. I dabbled in it.
Right.
Full transparency. It wasn't very difficult, but it's basically what I already do in the clinic, but just from a virtual standpoint.
Right.
And selfishly, I want to erase myself from having to be somewhere at a specific time as much as
Hmm.
possible. So that's why I'm putting all my resources into programming and getting a lot of like a pre-built membership going.
Yes.
That's what I'm currently doing behind the scenes. You've been coaching pretty much this whole past year, so I feel like you'd have some really good insight
Yes.
for us.
Okay, so I even did like virtual coaching even when I was more of a trainer in the sense, even like during school, because it was like, hey, another way to make income. I'm programming for people. But now I can take my clinical knowledge because there's the telehealth stuff, but that's more of like you're treating within your own state. You got to be careful how you say that stuff. Pain coaching or virtual coaching, even in terms of mobility or exercise based things, it's not even treating pain. There's a big open platform for you there. So what I do is I work with people one on one through calls, and then I program stuff for them in between. And that you can do it as a one off. You could do it as a monthly membership based thing or a monthly like price. Like, hey, I charge a couple $100. You and I get on 2 calls a month or 1 call a month plus programming. And guess what? Now you have more of
Mhm.
that continuing revenue. And what I did when I first started, when I was trying to make the transition to my own clinic, I then had X amount of thousands of dollars as guaranteed income. All my overhead was done. I can, maybe practice a little less and know I'm making money and then make that, coaching better. Coaching at first I thought was gonna be like the thing I want to do, completely. It's a lot more time consuming.
Mhm.
You have to probably charge a little more than I am right now. But you start just getting reps, right? You're starting to learn how to talk to people virtually, how to schedule everything, how to program, how to make it work for them. It's not just a one size fits all. Some people I literally just like get on a call. I'm like, hey, you just need 4 weeks of mobility training. Let's just have you pay X amount. Here's 4 weeks. I'll write it all out for you. Um, it's
Yep.
really open ended coaching. But have you done any with anybody?
Yeah, I did when I first started to grow a following. It
Hmm.
was more behind the scenes. I didn't promote it on my social media. It was more through email,
Right.
which we haven't even talked about email marketing yet,
No.
which is a huge player. But I did it, and I was like, yeah, this, like, for example, this person has had knee pain for 2 straight years, and it wasn't a
Hmm.
knee problem. Shocker, it was coming from their low back. But to me, it was like, I love what I do, but if I'm going to spend the time to do it, I would rather do it in person.
Right.
So that's where, for me, again, it's preference. If you
Yeah.
want to do what you do from home, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I'm already practicing, 2, 3 days a week, and I kind of
Hmm.
scratch that itch. So for
Hmm.
me, it was like I just feel like I'm doing the same thing. Um, so that's where I wanted to do more. I'm not involved. I don't have to be on a
Hmm.
calendar or a certain time. So that's where I'm more doing a slow roll of how I'm trying to monetize my content when it comes to programs and then eventual membership.
Right. So I would tell people too, it depends where you're at, right? Are you looking to help more people? Because again, when you have this bigger platform, you could help more people. If you don't even have the programs and all that stuff in check, I would do some coaching stuff. If you just want to make some more money up front as you build things, you can do that. If you don't want to do, like, you don't have to do virtual um treating or whatever you want to call it as your full-time thing. You can do some on the side. You have 5, 10 people you work with every month. There's I
Mhm.
say it fluctuates for people. And again, some months are great, some months aren't. It's not as consistent as having patients walk in your door or someone being on a monthly subscription based program. So it can go like this
Mhm.
because, and then also too, you are limited, right? I can't help everybody
Yeah.
virtually. You don't get to palpate, you don't get to touch, you don't get to do any of those things. So it's a lot harder. You have to refine your skills. I use it as a way to help me get used to, how do I run someone through an assessment? How do I talk to them? Do I have the videos? Because it's another thing. When you give someone a program, do you have all your videos ready? Do you know what you're going to give them? You can't just be like, hey, go ahead and do this shoulder car, and you're just sending them some random video online that you found. You need to have all that stuff set up. And we can, that's a whole nother episode as well, but talking how to get that going. The bottom line is,
The
I think
infrastructure.
the infrastructure, which most people, if you actually look at this entire thing that we're talking about today, if you don't have the infrastructure set up, you will not make money online. You can have all the followers you want. If you have nothing in your link tree, you have nothing to sell, you can't make money. So that's what we're trying to get at.
Yeah, it goes into strategies. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you mentioned like there's so many different flavors of coaching. You could do it
Mm-hmm.
full time, part time, sprinkle it in. Now, the reason I don't want to do it is the season I'm in, I'm already full in practice.
Right.
So like if I was just starting out, again, I started to grow my following after I was already practicing for a year and a half, 2 years, or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had all that free time on my schedule, then by all means, it makes more sense for me to try to fill up my schedule with online patients if I'm not seeing, or online clients, if I'm not
Right.
seeing any in-person patients. So
Right.
like if you're like a student or a new grad, or just your schedule's not full, I think coaching, especially if you're a rehab practitioner,
Oh yeah.
is a great way to start making solid money online. And like you said, I think it enhances your skill set because I'm in the belief that I could help someone without even putting hands on them as far
Yeah.
as treatment goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just about assessing, diagnosing the issue, and then giving the right strategy or
Mm-hmm.
getting your foot in the door with the right movements. So I think it can actually enhance some of your clinical skills, especially if you're a new grad, where if you can help someone without even touching them, I feel like that's a confidence booster, online, but also in person too.
It makes your communication skills so much better because you have to you're continually talking and coaching them through something and telling them what to do and kind of help. It's even hard to show them sometimes. So I think, again, this is a little off topic, but I think it's a really good way
Really?
to enhance your clinical ability, especially when you're early on. Like I was early on, I did not have a full schedule in here, but I knew it was a way to leverage to make more money in the short term because I had people coming in all the time. The people wanted a lot of virtual stuff. Great. It's easier to get that when you have a
Mhm.
bigger platform. So it all depends where you're at on the journey of this stuff. So we went over ads,
Yep.
we did brand deals, coaching. I think the big one is programs. And I think you are a little more well versed in that than I am. So you go ahead on that.
Yeah. So a program, I'm guessing if everybody's in the rehab profession listening to this, or in the fitness profession, you know what like a pre-built or a fixed program is,
Right.
whether it's like personal training, hey, here's a 12-week ab shred program. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a pre-built program, so it's not customized. That's
Right.
just a um, cheaper than obviously custom coaching, but it's more easily accessible to most. So it covers a more broad audience depending on what you're trying to program.
Yep.
Like specifically for me, I do a lot of mobility work, such as you do. So I've
Mm-hmm.
created a couple hip mobility programs, which was the beginning start for me. It was
Right.
nice to start selling programs and seeing, oh, people actually do want to buy this stuff. If anything, it was a great opening the door, or like a realization moment for me, because
Mm-hmm.
I did some coaching, but I didn't, I really wanted to make sure all my ducks were in a row before I started, selling or, trying to be too salesy, which is a common like imposter syndrome kind of thing.
Yep.
So once I saw there was a demand there, I was like, oh, awesome. I'll just keep making programs. And then I think we were just talking, or maybe you talked to someone else, and they said they were doing more of a membership that had programs within it,
Yes.
kind of like
Yes.
a Netflix of programs. And I was like, ooh, I think that's probably the wave, or it's going to be the future, where you can have a low monthly cost,
Mm-hmm.
lower than what say a one-off program is, but
Right.
if it's recurring, the biggest thing you want is recurring revenue. So
Right.
like I would rather have five people sign up for $10 a month than one person buying $100 program one time. Sure, you
Right.
get more money right away, but if you provide value and you have continuous programs that people want to
Mm-hmm.
do, then they're going to stay on the membership, and then that's where you keep them as a customer for longer periods of time.
I agree. I think when you're first starting, I think programs are awesome because it's like, okay, let me just get used to making something, putting something out there. You might only have 1,000 followers, right? Yes, I know people say you can still make money off that, but it's a lot harder. As you're going to put all this time and energy into maybe two people buying your subscription. So you'd be putting out content every single month or week after week after week, and you're not getting the return on investment. Guess what? Now it's taken a lot of your time and you've taken away from all the other stuff. But once you grow, and let's say now that I get 100 people that join it, 20, $30 a month. Well, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's 2, 3 grand a month. That makes it a lot more willing, or, I want to do it more. I'm willing to put the time and effort into, and now you keep growing and growing and growing that way. So I think the programs are a great way to start. Now you can still offer both because you have different price points for people. My
Mm-hmm.
individualized coaching and programming in my direct time is the highest ticket. Under that, a program. Under that, a subscription, because you're not getting access to me. You're just getting access to some of my knowledge on a monthly basis. This one,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting a one off package, right? And then this one up here, you're getting my actual time and energy, which is what do you value yourself as? If you look at how much you get paid for an hour in the clinic and you're willing to give somebody, dude, when I was starting, I had people that were like, they had my cell phone number, they're texting me, calling me, all this stuff. Like they were getting 10 to 20 hours of my time a month, and you start bringing it down, you're like, they should be paying me 2, 3 grand. So you have to,
Mm-hmm.
there's a sliding scale, right? And I think that's the benefit of it.
Yeah, and alluding to that, like when you were first starting out, you probably didn't mind, but as your brand continued to grow and your value continued to grow, then it's like, oh, do I handcuff myself
Well,
kind of thing?
no, this is a great point. Don't be the person, and
Mhm.
I had someone do this, that wants to make a shoulder mobility program and charge $1,500 a month with 800 followers and thinking like, man, if I just sell two of these a month, you're an asshole. I straight up, you're not worth that. Don't act like you deserve all this money for putting a bullshit program together. Dude, start cheaper, get the experience, get the reps, build trust, build a community, and then you can charge that. If you are a full time, like you have a full schedule of patients, you've got an insane amount of people buying your programs, guess what? Now your price can go up. But if you think you're just going to sell something for like, oh, my coaching's $500 a month, you're going to get one person and that's it. You're
Yeah,
gonna get no
yeah,
reps.
price. Well, and if you go that realm, you are going to be sweating to get that one sale. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not how I want to do things.
No.
I mean, you can make money off of high ticket coaching and
Mm-hmm.
high ticket programs, but um, for me, just based on my experience, if you just focus on giving a ton of value for free, especially through social media,
Yep.
you're going to grow a following. It's going
Mm-hmm.
to elevate your personal brand. People start to know you as an expert
Yep.
in that thing. And as soon as
And
they have that issue, oh, no way. Mitch has a program exactly
mm-hmm.
for what I'm going through right now. So that's where it's all about playing the long game. If you're trying to
Right.
use social media and online to try to get quit rich quick, sure, you can do some things to do that, but that's not how I want to live.
No, you want something more sustainable. So I think that's why don't be afraid to give stuff away or for free or for very cheap to start because you're just getting reps. I think it's the same idea as like if you're a new clinician, you just graduate school. If you think you're gonna sit there and charge $400 for your first session, you're sadly mistaken. Yeah, you might find some people are willing to pay that, but just like anything else, it's a numbers game. You need to get repetitions and get better. So when we say you can make money, don't just price it way too high and then be really upset and go, well, this doesn't work. I don't make money. I don't know how to do this. Or you're riding the waves like, wow, one month I made $10,000. The next month I made $1,000. Now, guess what? You have this inconsistency, and then you're sweating one month. You don't know if this is working. You're going to change your strategy versus that slow, gradual
Mhm.
build and just keep building trust in your community. Like, look at our follower count. Did you ever just go from 0 to 100,000 in a month? No, but you had these just straight, just okay, boom, boom. But we just keep growing because you just keep, providing value.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's the same thing with when you start to monetize and make money. It's just like it's not a straight line going up.
it
It's
goes like
like,
this, and then
oh no way, this
here, and
is
then
yeah,
yep,
yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, why didn't I do this sooner? And then the next month you're like, oh, I didn't make anything, and then oh, I'm kind
yeah,
of coming back. So
yeah.
it's a learning process. I mean, just
Hmm.
like when you open up practice, you might have when you're first starting, you have one month, you're like, why didn't I do this sooner? And then
Right.
the next month is like, where did all those patients go? Like,
Yes.
you just need time. And then
Hmm.
the more time you do and you stay consistent, which we always come back to that point,
Yep.
then the numbers will get consistently higher as your baseline
Hmm.
elevates. And then you kind of know what you're making online.
Right.
Um, yeah,
I think we
that was
touched
a
on all
lot.
like yeah, we throw a lot at this, but I think that maybe opens the door for more people to understand like, hey, you can make money. It's not impossible, but it's not guaranteed unless you also have something to sell, something to give away, and then a way to you have to monetize some way. You don't just get paid from having a following, which I think most people really do think that. Maybe back in the day at
Mhm.
Instagram in like 2015, 14, people were getting paid more. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that when it was new, it was like more specific to because um, ad bonuses didn't live very long, and
no,
actually they were gone before I even started, so I don't
I
even
got
know
one.
what they were paying.
I got one
Oh,
that
you
was
got
like,
one?
I got one at
Dang
like
it!
50
They
bucks. I
tangled
was
the
like,
carrot.
oh, this is awesome.
Uh,
Oh God.
yeah. Well, if they bring it back, we'll let you know
Yeah,
what
please.
our numbers are. But it's just like when people first started, like big YouTube channels were starting. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
were making hand over fist on
Mm-hmm.
or AdSense. But then as time goes on, there's more competitors, and then it
Right.
waters down the price that you're getting paid. So if you're relying on ads and your
Mm-hmm.
views for your money, then you probably don't have good business sense because you want to monetize your knowledge and your skill set
Right.
because it's yours.
One more thing I want to touch on. I get asked this a lot from people too. Like, I want to grow a big following. I'm like, okay, why do you want that? Like, well, I want to make money on social media. And then they really don't understand that you have to have like, do you know, like, if you're let's say you're an adjustment only chiropractor, are you going to sell programs on that? No. Are you going to have people wanting to, FaceTime you or whatever, Zoom you to take information in? No. So you can grow that following all you want, but you're not going to make money until you actually put the time and effort to have programs or brand deals. No one's paying you for just be a chiropractor online. Cool. So
Yeah.
you have to have the time and energy. It's one thing to grow it. It's another thing to then what I call it weaponizing it, like use it to actually create revenue. Like I could sit here with 60,000 followers,
Yeah.
have nothing on my link tree and just be like, yeah, I have a following. Cool. What does that do for me?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because, like, if you want to be a crack chiropractor where you're just
Hmm.
showing adjustments, I
Right.
mean, there's a fetish out there. So, like, it's easy to go viral, it's easy to grow a following.
Yes.
Um, I just don't know how that would translate into
Doesn't.
monetization unless it's
No.
purely through YouTube ads where a lot of the crack
Hmm.
chiros they have long ass treatment videos
Hmm.
because they're just making revenue off of the ads from those long videos.
Right.
So again, you could do that, but I feel like it's capped, and that cap only keeps getting, you know, lower and
Right.
lower.
Because what sets you
But if you
apart?
have a specific Exactly, but if you have a specific skill set where you've mastered a rehab technique or
Hmm.
two, and it makes you, one of one, it's way easier to market your services
Right.
and monetize that in other avenues.
And then last thing, also, just because you put programs on there, if you don't understand the sales or business aspect of that, you won't sell anything. You can have followers and throw something in your link tree and be like, here's my hit program. And if you don't know how to sell
Mhm.
that, promote it, or give value with that, because I think people also think, oh, I have 100,000 followers. If I just put a program in my bio here, it'll sell like hotcakes. You'd be very sadly mistaken. Like, do you remember your first program you put up? It was probably a lot less people
Yeah.
bought that than you really thought. You're like, oh man, this will, even if I sell 100, you're like, oh, that's a lot. It's actually a lot less than that until you actually learn then to use it and sell. And, that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. Well, and that goes into a topic we got to go into pretty soon is all the programs I sold, not even from social media. I mean, I'm sure there's a handful
Mm-hmm.
a month, but they're all through email marketing.
Yep.
And
You're the
that's
guest.
the next level down the trust funnel. Social media is kind of like your blast to everybody, but once you get someone on your email marketing list and they trust you and you give them weekly value, then when you're like, hey, I got this new program, those people are
Mm-hmm.
more inclined to buy. So there's some
Right.
levels to this.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, I think we hit on it
Yeah,
all.
we
It was a
could
good
talk
episode.
forever on this. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, as far as like an intro to monetization, I think this was a great starting point. And then if you
Yeah.
want more specifics, just reach out. Let us know what you want to hear next.
Yeah. Always. All right, man.
All right, until next
Until
week.
next time.
Salute.
Peace.